All right. Hey, welcome. So here we are, second episode of Channel Focus. Tell us your story, focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm your host once again, but certainly not the star of this show, who we'll introduce in a few minutes. But I am Frank Roush. We had a great episode one. We had Michael McCullough on from Imperva. We had literally thousands of views of it, and the comments were exceptional. People really seem to love Michael's story, the genuine way he told that story, and really kind of the lessons learned. And this is really what it's about. I mean, the way this started was just a bunch of channel leaders getting together, talking about our stories, and we decided it would be great to be able to share them because we have certainly different genders, certainly different backgrounds, um, and other unique attributes. But we all have our story. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this once a month, and we're going to bring in channel leaders that have been extraordinarily successful, channel leaders that have overcome diversity, equity, inclusion, obstacles to be able to rise, and not only to be able to rise, but to be able to strive. And we're going to focus the stories on life, career, and overcoming challenges. So I am really, really happy to introduce the star of this show today, Megan Sullivan. I've known Megan for a number of years, had an opportunity to work with her. She is, unbelievable character and has really, really done well. And she is now the head of global partner marketing and SME for SAP. So welcome, Megan.
Thanks so much, Frank. So good to be here. So nice to see you too.
So nice to see you too. It seems like I haven't seen anybody in the last year and a half.
I know. It feels like that, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But it's good to be getting back out there. In fact, I'm going to be in the Bay Area hopefully in probably about another 30 days.
Wonderful. Our weather's just turning nice here. So after all the fog of the summer, it's a good time to visit.
I think it would be a great time to visit. So you heard the background, and you were kind of like one of the people when we first started it talking about it. And I think you're a great example. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience if you could? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, would love to. So I was listening to Frank's introduction. We've actually known each other for 15 years now, which is crazy. I think that ages both of us. Sorry about that.
I don't know. I think I look 15 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in and around the Silicon Valley for many years. I've done some startups, been at the big companies. I've really found my home here at SAP. I love this company. Talking about diversity and inclusion, this is one of the best companies to work for. So I feel really grateful to be here. But most importantly, I've just had an amazing journey, and especially since I've been in the channel. Frank, when I met you 15 years ago, that was the first time that I got my VP title. I don't know if you knew that, but that was kind of the beginning of my, my skyrocketing part of the career. And so it's been pretty exciting since then and up to then too. So, yeah.
So there had to be a lot of steps in between.
Yes.
How did you get started?
So I think my secret to success, or just who I am, is I'm a classic company hopper is what I call myself. So I tend to last about 3 to 5 years at a company, and then I get bored and want to do something new. SAP, I've been here for a while. I don't know if I'm ever going to leave. I love it here so much, but I have been super fortunate to work with just extraordinary people. When they move to a new company, they've taken me with them, several times. Some people will call that sponsorship, when you find somebody who, will continue to take you with them company to company. And so for me, that was a really great way to grow, take on new roles, kind of ask for the larger role, the larger salary, and kind of go from there. So that was kind of my secret to how to do it.
Well, I like the larger role and the larger salary part of it.
Yes.
But when you're scoping out these type of opportunities, obviously roles, salary plays a part of it. How about culture?
Yeah, well, culture is key, right? I think SAP is my 9th company, and I've had a couple of companies in between there that weren't, ideal for culture. And I think when you end up, when you end up at the end of the day looking yourself in the mirror and you don't like who you've become because you're in a toxic culture and around kind of an environment that doesn't bring out the best in you, I think that's a good indication of when you need to exit. I've been at 2 companies like that in particular, and they only lasted about a year and a half. So I knew pretty close into it that it wasn't right for me. And it did make me much more choosy, moving into the future of kind of where I want to be and where I've landed. So, but since I've known you, HP and SAP are the 2 companies that I've known you for, and both companies have been extraordinary in terms of culture, and SAP especially, it's just fantastic.
That's great. So obviously you're confident, and I would say brave as well.
Thank you.
Because you need to make the move, and you make the move. And let's just drill down on this, because I know you mentor a number of different people. I mentored a number of different people, and many people just ask me, so when do you know? When do you know it's not right? And how do you not run away from something, but run towards something?
So, I mean, I think it's time when you're too comfortable, when your job gets a little too easy and you're not challenged. I mean, for me, anyways, that phrase that when you're uncomfortable is when you're experiencing the most growth. I tend to get bored, and so if I get too comfortable and I'm bored, it's like, gosh, I just need my next challenge, and I'm ready to try something new. So that's kind of been it for me. There have also been times too where I've gotten a phone call from someone that I've worked with in the past, and they're like, "Oh, I've got this great opportunity. You got to come over. It's going to be awesome." And just kind of starting to investigate it and think about it. And like you talked about, that having the courage to just make the leap. There are times when it's like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. I mean, what have you got to lose, right? You can always go somewhere else eventually. So yeah, and I think of it too in terms of, I'll try it for 2 years, see how it goes. If it's working, great. If it's not, there's always, something beyond that. But I also love change, obviously. So that comes with the courage too, right?
Yeah, no, I had a very similar experience. So when I left HP, I went over to VMware. Now I'm at Checkpoint in the world of cybersecurity, working for an Israeli company, and it's a really, really interesting experience. But I agree with you. It's interesting. I'll bring up 2 people. So Carl Eschenbach, who used to be the COO, the president of VMware, he just basically said, look at it as a gas gauge. When your external value exceeds your internal value, then it's time to consider leaving. Yeah. And another guy, I think both of us know, Randy Seidel. Randy used to have the comment that if you don't know, meaning that if you're uncertain, maybe it's time to move. But yeah. Anyway, I just thought about, we have a lot of people that have joined us today. We have the chat window open. We'd love to hear kind of where you're listening from, any questions, any comments, any direction you'd like us to take this.
Yeah, I love it. And I do want to make, as we're waiting for some of those to come in, I want to talk about culture for a second, because I think it's important. You can join a company and the culture of that company might not be great, right? Right. But I think, and Frank, you and I have done this, in our careers, I know we did it at HP, is you can create subcultures within your teams. And I think that's great. So you don't have to rely on kind of your leadership or a broader organization, but you can take your team and your culture and your direction in any way you want it. And I know we do that at SAP, and we like to say we're family or whatever, but we spend a lot of time, specifically recently too, through COVID, getting to know each other better on a personal level, getting empathy for each other, hearing, like we're doing now, what's your story? Like, where do you come from? What makes you uniquely you? And, we're so much closer because of it. And I think the productivity goes up, the efficiencies go up, the trust factors go up. It's a pretty extraordinary thing to do when you can get to that point.
Cool. That's great. I'm just watching the messages go by. By the way, if you never tried this LinkedIn Live thing, it's challenging because you're like trying to read on a few different cues. But we have listeners from the West Coast, from the East Coast. We have some people that have joined in from Europe. People that are just kind of trying to steer the conversation a little bit. We just got a great suggestion from Maria Rouse to be able to kind of put together a Teams network to be able to talk about these topics, which I think is really, really good idea. So let's go back to kind of where we started this. So we started on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So you had a fairly meteoric rise over the last 15 years. It was good, really, really good run. But I would imagine that there were some challenges. How did you overcome those challenges?
No, I think you make a great point. I mean, for many, many years, just from a diversity perspective, I like to say I was the only woman in the room. It felt like that for a long time. And so really being able to navigate that and authentically be me and keep the integrity, but still kind of push ahead. That's not always easy when you have mixed genders and cultures and everything else in the room. I think what I attribute my success in the last 15 years to, and probably especially the last 10 years, is I've really become probably really comfortable with myself, where I'm a more vulnerable leader than I've been in the past. And vulnerable meaning I can talk about kind of my journey, what got me here, what being a woman is like, what working with other cultures is like. For those of you that don't know, I think a lot of people know because I talk about my story a lot, but I have 3 children. I've got a 20-year-old who's going to be 21 in a month. I have an 18-year-old, and I have a 1.5-year-old. And so I just have hit this kind of confidence in my life and this point where you can define your own story. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. You can make your own story. You don't have to go on the path everyone else is doing. And just having the courage to make risky decisions that seem like crazy at the time, but they've been the best thing for me, whether it be company jumping, having a baby. Unfortunately getting a divorce was difficult, but it led me into this wonderful new life I'm in now. But life is super hard. And my favorite quote is Mike Tyson: everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. It's kind of one of those things. You just have to rise up and be courageous enough to make a decision to get out of it.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit different with you. And I don't want to be assumptive here, but it seems like you're not waiting for the next chapter. You're writing the next
Yes,
chapter.
that's true.
That's a little bit different.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
So
I think it's a good. I've never thought about it in those terms, but it's true. I don't. Life typically doesn't happen to me. I make life happen. That's probably a good way to say it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So while we're on that subject, maybe other key learnings, because I know you spend a lot of time basically paying it back,
Yes.
for lack of a better word, just mentoring people that are aspiring, just like you aspired. What are you telling them?
I mean, a lot of it is what we're talking about now is just, to your point, having the courage to say yes. There are a lot of times when people might get an offer, suggestion. It could be going out to dinner, going on a specific vacation, taking a new job, whatever. It's super easy to find all the reasons to not do something. Oh, I've got this, or I'm too tired, or whatever. I've taken a new philosophy probably in the last 10 years specifically, where just say yes. I mean, you never know what's going to happen, right? So I say yes more than I say no, for sure.
Well, that's great. That's great. I think we ought to say yes more. So, obviously, you never go on a journey by yourself.
Yeah.
And you have your family, which you already talked about. How about some other mentors, some other influencers? Can you tell us a story of how somebody has made a difference?
Yeah. It's funny. We talk about, I know the concept of a board of directors as mentorship has been around for years. Honestly, I've never really had a mentor, like one person that I meet with and I talk to. At different points in my life or my career, I've had like 4 or 5 people that I lean on or call for advice, or they don't even know they're mentoring me at the time, as an example. But it's just, for me, I think a lot of perspectives are pretty interesting. And so the board of directors has been a pretty strong foundation for me. And now I have an executive coach, coming with SAP and in the position I am now, I'm fortunate enough that I have that, which has been phenomenal. But I also have amazing peers. Even some of the people that work for me mentor me. They don't even know it. Outside influences and in the channel, here we are today to talk about channel leaders. We have an amazing, amazing group of friends and peers in industry, Frank, that you and I hang out with on a quarterly basis or whatever, that some of those conversations can be super helpful too, perspectives.
Well, here's the good news, Megan. A lot of your team agrees with you. Justine Moore is just on a line. Justine Moran, I'm sorry, making some great comments. I think she feels very lucky to be on your team. That's great.
So nice. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, the one story, and we'll go back to the HP days for a second. One story that still is astounding to me. I had an opportunity to be on Carly's team at one point, and she gave me an executive coach, and the executive coach was working through Patrick Lencioni, and Patrick Lencioni is one of my favorite executive coaches. And I'm just saying, the workbooks, the exercises, the 5 dysfunctions, the 4 obsessions,
Right.
that made all the difference in the world to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think, there's something really to be said too for self-awareness for one, knowing where we're good, knowing where we need to fix ourselves is a very courageous thing to do, to look inside. But also to know our team members and those who work for us and with us and around us, really be able to know who they are and how to approach them and what works best. All of those, personality tests and everything else that we see in these coaching sessions, I think are extraordinarily helpful because,
Good.
everyone's different.
I get a little worried about the results before I take them, but we'll get there one way or the other. Let's take the opposite side of it, and without mentioning names, just talk about some of the mistakes you've seen where people are on that rise, and all of a sudden they get derailed.
Yeah. I think company politics can really get in the way. I've seen a couple situations, and I've even been in one of them myself. So when you get hired by somebody in a company and you become loyal to that person and seen as their right hand or part of the team or the clique or whatever, that can be a very dangerous position to be in if that leader leaves the company. And then all of a sudden a new leader comes in, and how do you now navigate? I was loyal to this person, they're now gone. Now how do I shift to this person? And so I think, all of that is mired in kind of company politics and how you work around it. I've seen people do it well. I've seen people not do it well. I've done it not well. I've done it well. I mean, I think it's something to really be careful at, though. I mean, you can definitely have your team and your people at work that you trust and be great to your leader, but really being great for the bigger scheme of the company and the broader company and customers is going to make you win every day of the week. So just, those company politics can be tricky.
Yeah, it's interesting. I believe in the same thing. Pick a company, pick a culture.
Yes.
Don't pick a manager.
Exactly. Yes.
And by the way, I know you're the same way. I mean, we all bring some people with us.
Yeah.
On some of these jumps we make, but I don't think you need to have the same circle at every company.
No.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's when we talk about there's mentorship and there's sponsorship. You can mentor a lot of people. You can have lots of mentors. You can sponsor maybe one person, and you can be sponsored by maybe one person in your career if you're lucky. But yeah, you don't want to bring everyone with you because there's a lot of talent and new people that will create a new culture and kind of take you even further, to the next company or whatever. So I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
And it's nice too, like even our circle, we've got this great group of people we worked with for years. Now we get to see each other out at conferences. Well, if we were out at conferences, now it's all virtual. But how lovely to reconnect and be with each other and know that we had this awesome run together at a different company, and now we're kind of helping each other at our new companies.
Okay. No, I agree. I desperately want to get back on the road, and I am.
I'm sure.
Walter Leverett, one of my favorite people, is chiming in too. A real champion of diversity.
Wow, his comment's awesome here too. So please consider those who don't look like you, right? So hire people that are different than you, that have a different skill set than you, that have different personalities. I mean, that's such a great comment.
No, it really is.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, this is certainly not, it's not limited to race. It's not limited to gender. There's a whole other a number of different factors that really go into diversity. Okay, I'm going to take it back down memory lane.
All right.
In a good way. Don't get worried.
We've got great memories, so I'm on board.
Don't get worried. All right. So so you just mentioned that you have a daughter that's 20, turning 21.
Yeah.
What advice would you give yourself at 21, knowing what you know now?
What advice would I give myself? Stay true to who you are. I mean, early in the career, it's really easy to look at somebody in a company or want their job and then just try and be like them. Like, I'm just going to be them. And then you emulate kind of their mannerisms or how they act in a meeting or whatever. I did that, and it was like I became someone that I did not want to be. And for years, it kind of sidelined me. And so I think just stay true to who you are, shine from, your own personality, and don't try and be someone else, uniquely you kind of thing. I didn't do that early on. And that is the advice I give her now too. It's like, just be yourself. You're awesome.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. So, so let's go down that channel road for a second, because basically whether it's Walter or whether it's some of the other people, Lauren Ventura has also joined us. So we have some great people that are aspiring right now in that channel.
Yes.
What advice would you give somebody that basically comes from a diverse background and now they want to say, yeah, I want to do something different, I want to explore this channel thing?
Yeah. So diverse background can be a couple things. It could be an ethnic or a culture background, or it could be somebody that didn't have a channel background. So which question do you want to hit? They're two different
let's go to diversity in the sense that we're talking about it right now. So basically, whatever diverse category you want to talk about.
Yes, we did a really cool and brave thing with my team. It was about 60 days ago that was a life changer. So I'm going to change the question a little bit. You said, what advice would I give the people kind of that are diverse how to get in? I'd say we need to give the advice to, the people like me that are maybe, unaware of some of the cultures and the challenges and everything of diversity and inclusion. We did this amazing all hands, and it was optional, but everyone came, and we talked about Black Lives Matter and Asian hate. And I had a panel of people come in from my team, and they told their own personal stories. And Frank, I'm telling you, like literally there were like tears happening. There was, virtual hugs going on. It was a game changer because it gave a lot of people in the room who've just kind of taken things for granted or didn't really know or whatever, this acute awareness of what some others are going through that, you read it in the news, but you really don't have any idea kind of thing. And for me, that was a game changer. So the awareness and just kind of listening and having empathy for those around us, I'd say that is the most important thing right now, because there's some extraordinary stories out there that change the way that I look at, my team and the world and myself even, and it was amazing. I'm trying to think of how do I, I've set the bar so high, I don't know what to do next topic, but it was amazing.
Well, yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go with this. So what was the outcome? What did you decide as a group to be able to do differently?
So I think one thing that happened that was fascinating is that the trust amongst the team, like instantly skyrocketed. The fact that we could have discussions that were so real and so raw, it opened people up to be more vulnerable in terms of, what they need for their everyday business or what they need for their careers or what they need from a team or, what have you. So I think the trust just, exploded. I think the other thing it did, it allowed us to have the conversations. That's what changed everything. So now we're going to include a diversity and inclusion topic, every quarter, because it's emotionally a lot to do too often. You want to keep it effective. And the next one is going to be about having courageous conversations. And I think for our team, it took us pretty far in the future that none of us ever had anticipated.
It sounds like you are definitely making a difference. No doubt about it. So I want to be fair about this. So I've asked you like 20 questions.
All right.
What would you like to ask me?
So I'd like to hear your perspective, Frank. I know that, and let's just be real, right? Diversity and inclusion. It's, you're a white man living in America. You've had your career has been extraordinary. I've loved working with you. I loved, working around you and watching your career. It's been amazing. How is this feeling for you? I mean, all this awareness and everything that's gone on in the last 18 months, it's not easy for you either. So, and I want to acknowledge that as well. So I'd love to hear your perspective.
So it's different. It really is. I've seen this from both sides. So I was extremely involved in VMware. And it was more, basically with reverse mentors, with diversity inclusion efforts, and it was kind of like, yeah, we're doing it. So that was certainly one part of it, and then we started to get into it more and more, and then we started to. I don't know whether you ever heard of Scott Page, but Scott Page basically was teaching out of the University of Michigan. And then he was helping us because we were starting to quantify the benefits of having diverse teams. But I always thought of diversity in terms of somebody that didn't look like me, whether that was gender or race. And then I got involved with the veterans at VMware. And I became the executive sponsor for the Power of Difference, which was the group of veterans we had at VMware. And I never served. So it was something totally different for me. And honestly, I think I got more out of it than they did.
That is so cool. And you're right. I mean, diversity can come in so many forms and flavors. I think in the tech world, what we have done is, we've defined diversity by women in leadership, which isn't enough, right? It's not just women in leadership. It's different colors, it's different races, it's different, sexual identities and beliefs. It's a little, to your point, it's veterans who've been through, a totally different experience. It can be defined as a really broad category. And I don't think we do enough in the tech category, or we don't know how to yet, of kind of how to expand that view.
Okay. Well, we had the gentleman who helped us put this together, who recommended that anybody that's interested, wants to learn more, wants to get involved, maybe just wants to talk, to be able to go to the Channel Focus website. So we encourage everybody to do that. Megan, you're a great leader, you're a great friend, and you're a great guest. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Frank. It's been so nice to be able to connect with you today and talk about such an important topic. Thank you. I feel honored to be here. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye now.